Today we could talk about fingerprinting. So this is like the second project that we are aiming to start. Um, I don't know if anybody is familiar with the term. What does it mean?
I think more or less, but let's.
So the call. Where we could start. Hmm. So first of all, the word fingerprinting. This is kind of like misleading here because normally when you have fingerprinting, it's like SSH keys, right? You are computing like a unique representation of the key that you can easily use, right? So this is like kind of identification method here. Here, like in advertising world, the word fingerprinting is kind of misused because what we are talking mostly about is actually user tracking and identifying users across different medias. So that's more the fingerprinting. So we're not like um, trying to come up with some kind of hashing um, or just like unique representation, but we are trying to do better tracking. Now, why there is a need for better tracking and better identification for users? Well, mostly if you're hearing about users in the internet, it usually refers to it usually refers to cookies, right? So whenever you're hearing like we have 10 million unique users, what you actually really hear is that we registered 10 million unique cookies that were like we dropped 10 million unique cookies on our website this month, or like requests that were hitting our servers. They had like 10 million different cookies, right? Which is like okay, fair enough method of identifying users, but it has a lot of drawbacks. So first drawback is that with cookies, you don't have guarantee that the user doesn't delete the cookie, of course. The second thing is that user can block a cookie, right? The third thing is that some people, and then there's more and more people that are browsing in incognito mode, right? Or have some kind of like anti-tracking software that, for example, requests new cookie every time you request a page. So basically, I could behave like a user that is seeing like I'm accessing a page X, and every time I click a link, I'm seen as a new user who is like cookied from the beginning, right? Um, Next problem that we have with cookies is third-party tracking, right? So cookies, for example, there's a lot of advertising companies and a lot of like companies that are dropping cookies to a third-party websites, right? And so that they can see like how user is browsing, through and how what's like the history of browsing for a particular user. However, more and more browsers are not permitting this. There is a problem, of course, with the mobile browsers. So on mobile devices, users frequently use different browsers. Me personally, I'm using Chrome and Safari like to in different apps because like um, for example on iOS some actions like share this or view this in link in browser are only available, for example, in Safari. And then I'm browsing something in Chrome, then I'm browsing Facebook, and there's a link in Facebook app that opens in Facebook browser. And all these browsers, they don't share the cookie information. What is more, by default, Apple blocks third-party cookies in Safari, which is like the browser of choice for many people using iOS. So then there's next problem with cookies. Yet another problem with cookies is that how you can say, for example, about unique users if currently everybody has at least two devices used for browsing the internet. So if you have like the website like onet.pl, you're accessing it at work on your computer, then at home with another computer, then you're lying on the couch with a tablet and browsing on it, and then there is a mobile browser on your phone, and on each of these browsers you have different ID, right? So for Onet, you're like they have one user, but they see it as 4 users. So you can see that in current world, when all these limitations are more and more visible, there is, we have a problem with actually determining like how many users the particular website has. Like previously, these cookies were good enough when everybody accepted it and everybody had like single computer. But right now in current world, it's not enough. And why it really matters to have this and to like know the real number of users. The answer is advertising, of course. Like, if we put all the like, of course, for publishers, they would like to have like better measure, for how many actual users they see on the website to compare. But actually, they are a bit afraid to step away from cookies because every time you do something more intelligent, then your real number of users drops significantly. So it's not about even benchmarking the websites and the publisher who drives it. The advertisers drives the effort to have better user identification. The reason is that whenever you have like ad campaign, whatever your no matter what's how to say, uh, every media house, every advertiser, actually every company that buys advertising or sets up a campaign, it sets a goal, and this goal is basically like some kind of conversion goal. And by conversion, it means like somebody who saw an ad and bought the product or do certain actions, right? So all the like the results of all these advertising campaigns, TV spots, and whatever they do, whatever all these creative directors, whatever these media houses do, it's then measured in real conversions, real like sales lifts, and so on, right? Therefore, the in ad tech world, in digital media world, the advertisers, they want to target campaigns for specific users, right? This is obvious, and that's how advertising worked, even before internet, right? They had like databases of clients, and they were like targeting certain campaigns. They were sending some emails, they were sending some snail mail to you based, on information about you, right? So I don't know if do you have any questions so far? Because I feel like I'm kind of doing a free chat.
This is a good background. It's all like I think we are more or less grounded in this.
The reason that I'm talking about, because like somebody might say that, okay, we're doing some account tracking to I don't know, for somebody to do like better spying on people. This is not about it. I'm trying to like really show you what we are trying to solve here and why this really matters.
The thing is, it obviously adds value. Like you cannot deny that this adds value to the publisher, and then the reason behind it is very clear. Then the hard part is the execution. That's the truth.
Yeah. So just to summarize, so this part about users. So it's all about the users. As you can see, like if our user matching service dies, the all CPMs dies because the advertiser care about user. They want to reach specific users, and that's how they also can like have more measurable campaigns. And that's a very important point that somebody made to me is when, for example, media house that is planning all the campaigns, they're buying inventory, the RTD or whatever about anything. They're, for example, interested in displaying ad of a product X to 400,000 people, right? Because they, for example, know that if they display ads to a single person, there is a like 0 point whatever chance that he will buy this stuff. So if they cannot rely on this metric that 400,000 unique users is actually reliable, they're actual users, they're running into problems that on one page the cookies are really representing, for example, the value because nobody is accessing from mobile and whatever, and then on the other website, on the other inventory, this is totally like 3 times, 4 times more than actual number of users. That's why they care, because they want to really have measurable performance and then better targeting. And other reason, apart from all these, apart from users, devices, how we use the website, and then the performance is fraud. It's really right now there is plenty of publishers or ad networks that are generating false requests, false impressions. There are bots that are accessing websites, and the ads are not displayed even if advertisers think they are. So and it's really easy to mock up the user just by actually there is no effort into pretending for a bot that it is a user when all you care is cookies.
One question: the fraud protection can it be part of fingerprinting?
I mean, it's actually naturally is kind of like part of fingerprinting because like I will cover this later on.
Okay.
But you definitely let's talk about it a little bit later. But it's actually a natural part of fingerprinting. So I talked about the reasons, I talked about why we need, what is the problem, what we're trying to solve here, motivations, fraud. Okay, any questions so far before we jump in to the next thing? Guys on the phone. Okay. Fine. So let's talk like what is like how we could tackle the problem. And the problem is, okay, actually we talked about the problem, but we didn't talk about like how we could like simply solve the problem of different IDs and then these cookies, device IDs. So what publishers and advertisers want is a single user ID that is mapped to all these cookies, device IDs, and then all these other IDs that are coming through different channels, through different medias, right? So we are here trying to create a mapping between many different cookies, IDs, and a single man ID, like we were referring here in the office, Człowiek ID. Yeah, like some kind of one Uber ID, so that whenever there is like a request to a browser with cookie X, we know that the cookie X actually belongs to a user 123, right? And the user 123 has also cookie Y at work, and is also using mobile apps, and his iPhone has device ID B, right? So that's what we're trying to solve. We try to create the mapping so that whenever there's a request from this website and we see cookie X, we know this is user 123, and then we can target campaign based on the fact that this is user 123, not cookie B. Simple as that. And one more thing that I forgot to mention, why this is important also for publishers, is that they have problems with monetizing their mobile websites. So it's fairly easy for them to make money on traditional displays because advertisers are used to buy the web ads. Users are used to, let's say, seeing the mobile web ads, but to display desktop ads. However, on the mobile, the situation is different. The users hate mobile ads; they're not used to them. The mobile ads consume, data plan. There is a problem with targeting, of course. Therefore, publishers don't earn as much money when you're requesting omnet.pl via mobile compared to when you are browsing this website on the desktop, right? So that's why it's important for them that if you're browsing the mobile web, your user 123, and they can display, and they know the user and they can display personalized ads, and they can guarantee the advertiser that, okay, this mobile web is the user that you're interested in, so don't be picky about this media channel. Yeah, okay. So so we have a problem defined. We know what we're trying to do. So how we create this mapping? So first of all, we need some criteria on how we can connect cookie cookie X to user 123, right? So in our so that's the basic. This diagram is pretty bad. Anyways, we get lost. I don't know how to. Oh yeah, I don't know how I. But maybe let's make it a bit. What is this? Old-fashioned way. I don't know. Yeah, no, but maybe actually. Anyways, so here we have John, and that's basic situation. It's accessing omnet.pl via different channels, via browser at home, at work, and mobile web app, whatever. And then we want to have campaign that targets this particular user instead of different cookies. So our service must somehow get this information whenever get the request from John's browser at work, and John's mobile app, and process this request, knowing that none of the cookies or device IDs. We then need to store some kind of information that, like meta information, that is passed in the request, so that we can do an offline processing somehow, and based on some criteria like geolocation, you know, different techniques like IP address, and like for example, list of plugins that appears on the requests in headers, time of the day, like frequency of appearing at a certain time for the system. All these meta information, not obvious facts that are actually available on our request. So we need to store all this information in different buckets, and then when we have it, then we can try to make a guess that if the user appears under the same IP address, maybe at the same time of the day or like frequently, then it's actually its home address, right? If like majority of time when we see cookie X is from this particular IP after 6, then it's definitely there's a big probability that this is the user's home. Then if we see cookie B that, for example, is accessed from different IP during work hours, and the same, for example, and the same mobile app then sends us requests near this location, near a work location, a home location, then we can maybe make a conclusion that this is all these device IDs and all those cookies, they belong to a single user, right? And then we create a database for the publisher, advertiser, whoever wants to have this data, so that he can easily map any cookie to a single ID, and then actually get all the information, like get all the mapping. That's what we actually sell at that's like the end result. That's a product. And during this processing, like we can easily also detect fraud, because if there is like multiple cookies going through a single I don't know, IP, origin unknown, with same user agent and whatever, then we can definitely see that this is some kind of bot, or there's different criteria on how we can approach it. I don't want to give you like concrete example, but yeah, I think also that if we will have criteria for matching real users, then bots won't be able to fulfill them. So naturally, we will detect fraud, because for fraud cookies we won't have any match. This is it. We won't be able to create mapping. That's what I meant. Yeah. So yeah. So that's the overview. Are you following? Is that clear? It's hard for me to.
Yes, I see that the way we should approach this is that I see that you should try to avoid thinking about all of the possible corner cases, or those edge situations where it's not obvious how. That you should concentrate on one specific flow, or one specific use case that might cover a lot of users, and try to trying to make that working. I see that the possible danger is that we can start discussing how to how to discover or how to discover or how to solve a particular problem which can cure that user uses VPN or whatever. That it's not like widespread. So it's very important to be focused on very clear.
Yeah, like in the end, I would even say that like let's not even talk about the VPN or whatever. We need concrete matches and with some probability and some probabilities. That's it. And most of the users they don't access internet with VPN, and there are many criteria so that we cannot just. So we will have a lot of criteria that will, for example, help us to not be affected by the 5G VPN or something. But do you have any questions to the flow? Is something unclear when it comes to this mapping channels?
I have a question. Because for a browser, it's obvious that we will use cookies. How do we map mobile apps? What kind of identifier we have?
Yeah, so all the mobile apps, they're all mobile devices. They have device ID. This is called, I think it's Apple device ID, and there's some kind of Google whatever. However, they are available for the app makers, and they can pass. That's how targeting works in mobile world. And this is
Michal, that's partially true. So it's the device ID, for example, is not available for Apple devices. You cannot access device ID even from the app SDK. We've got this problem with in my previous company when we try to identify users, and we need to have different way of identifying devices specifically for Apple. You are not able to access this if you are not Apple.
What about Android?
Yeah, in Android there is no issue. In Android there's another problem. So you are not able to extract the SIM data. So for example, you cannot, without additional permissions, you cannot access the SIM data like phone number or so. But there's no issue with device ID.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would be interested in how the ads are working on the iOS.
They are probably they are having customized device ID generator on the client, which somehow negotiates with server. We overcome this problem in this way. So basically, we try to establish first by request response cycle who are you, and on the server we are assigning the identity, sending to a client and store it somewhere like in a cookie fashion.
Yeah.
What were you checking yesterday? It was somehow related to the IDs. You asked us for.
Only about headers.
But let's maybe stop talking about the device ID. Mobile. You can cookie mobile as well. It's actually depends on the app, right? And what is more, in most of the mobile apps, they require users to log in, right? So you have even more information about the user. So that's why. And let's not talk about the cookies. Let's try to we are not attached to cookies or device ID here. We're having different user IDs generated in whatever fashion, right? And we're trying to map them together, make a relationship between them, right? Find which belong to the single user. That's our top level goal here. Any other questions? Okay, so we can so we with Pavel have taken we're working on like a single plan to how we can tackle this in a single prototype, and then we can as a team try to work with more people. So like based on our previous experience with Aztec and how they this is like a real draft, and I will create more like complete documentation. But using this knowledge, like I want to use this knowledge change session just to present you like a brief overview, like how we would like to create version 0.0 with minimal effort and with like some kind of results that will allow us to experiment. Because what we really lack is any kind of experience with data mining, matching, all these algorithms. So first assumption that we made is that we're not going to do any like data science, image recognition, vector extraction, MDS, scaling multidimensional spaces into some kind of like all these stuff that we learned at university. I mean, we had opportunity to learn. That's so I think this is like totally overkill for now. We can do just a simple algorithm like very reasonable facts using very reasonable logic, like if the users are seen from the same IP and there is not a lot of IDs seen from the same IP, that maybe this is a match, right? And then we don't have to overkill these criterias, because I think at the beginning we might focus on creating more criterias with a simple like logic behind them, and try to instead of like optimizing a like how we detect match with a single criteria, we try to have more criterias, and we determine quality of match by looking how many criterias are met. Therefore, we will we will use more meta information. We will see which are crop or not, which are crop, which are better, and then maybe we will focus on like creating better algorithm for for example geolocation or time and so on, right? There's not a lot of knowledge, I think, around the internet about how to do it, but of course everybody is encouraged to keep on digging. So that's how we that's the first like approach that I think it's worth to take. And by the way, please feel free to interrupt me with any question, comment, and so on.
Did you guys research Google? User tracking? Because I read somewhere that they actually don't use cookies for user tracking anymore, that they use fingerprinting. Or they use both as they want to switch to fingerprinting. I have to dig up.
Which kind of fingerprinting? Because the fingerprinting.
I have to dig up that article. Just curious if you use some.
No, and that's like maybe I did a bit wrong introduction about what is fingerprinting, because like different people understand different things about fingerprinting. For example, like some people use this mostly for assigning user a new kind of ID based on, for example, on e-tags, or like injecting some kind of files to local storage, right? That's probably what you're referring to. What we are here doing, and what I often refer as a fingerprinting project, is actually cross-device matching. That's what we do here. But of course, like it's more than cross-device because we're trying to, detect fraud, better tracking, and of course, there is a room for dropping and fingerprinting users with e-tags and other things. But I think this could be like done at a later stage, right? Because like what's like yeah, like that's for the future as well. I know everybody gets, but we are able to what the Conrad is referring to, I think, is that we are able to also generate our own cookies or our own like fingerprints, right, for the users. And then use this as like yet another ID, yet another something that helps us matching it. Yeah, um, that's what we can do. I don't know if that's good for phase one. Any other questions?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask more general about like the competition or what are current solutions, or how many this is widespread, or how much do you know what others do? I mean, in this field, or how new is this? So is this like something where you can win, or it's already like, or yeah, basically.
So that's a good question. So there is not a lot of presentations on this, and if they are focused mostly on like general concepts, like why we need this and what is this, but they don't like tell you how to do it. I think this is kind of like business knowledge, like very valuable knowledge how to do this, and so that's why not a lot of companies share this kind of info how they do it. Other thing is that there is a lot of hate for tracking users, so nobody wants to speak out loud about it. I saw a couple presentations from the like, for example, the presentations that we saw on IAB forum that we went with Wojciech. So they were, so there are like advertising companies that they built in cross-device matching and fingerprinting into their stack. They kind of like provide it as their part of their service. So you're like using their ad server. So you have also like access to the fingerprint, right? That's how they offer this. But I haven't right now spotted any details on this. But if you do the search, and that's also the beginning of this. So if you find any interesting materials, just let us know. Yeah. Yep.
Is there any legal thing that we should avoid? Or?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, like I'm like before, of course, we will go ahead with this. We will have a legal opinion made. There are some like lawyers in Warsaw that are specialized with this. They're like, I think the biggest question is how we can analyze this data, because there is a big always a concern about anonymization, like so that you cannot tell if the ID 123 is actually good or bad. However, of course, there is a very big need for linking these matches to PII that I didn't talk about, but this is like the big part. And I don't know if we will be able to do this, but imagine that this ownit.pl, they have these cookies, and they, for example, know that some cookies they belong to logged in user, right? And that the same user is logged in on the mobile app where they have the some kind of ID. So then they can like they can provide us this data and allow us better linking, better matching, right? Yeah, but I don't know how possible from a legal point of view, and I don't want to course, I don't want to run into some legal problems with this. So we will definitely check this out. Yeah, so regarding architecture, so what we will try to do for version 0.1 is some kind of simple bucketing of the information that we get on the request. So to avoid creating all big data infrastructure, because what I'm kind of afraid and what I see in the ad tech world is that they're spending a lot of time and effort on maintaining big Hadoop installation and getting a lot of, spending a lot of money on storing the data and running applications that are slow and whatever. While here we could try to do some kind of do this more in real time, meaning that if we have a so if there is a request with cookie 4, 5, 6 that comes with the IP address, with some geo information, whatever, we are putting, like using some kind of Couchbase or some kind of key value storage, pretty scalable and easy to use. We put this information right away. So for example, we have a collection where the keys are the IP addresses, and we under each IP address we are adding information about like ID that came from this IP address. And here we can like have like a different collection for geolocation. So let's divide, for the world in like square boxes, and then put in these boxes, these locations are our like grid, and then we put different IDs with some additional metadata in these boxes. Then we can like have a collection for like browsers, and all the other things. Then we have like offline processes that traverse for these collections, and they seek for match, right? They seek for potential relation. And then there is like another box here, maybe forget about this thing here, that maintains information about all the potential matches, and based on this, you will see like how probable the match is, and you have like all these match informations gathered on per ID basis here. Is that clear? Okay. So this way, like we avoid building whole infrastructure for storing data, for running aggregations, and then storing the results of aggregations. We have basically, we're doing aggregations on fly, and putting data in the correct boxes, and then just looking at these boxes and then creating some prediction out of it. And I don't know if I want to go into these kind of details. I was playing with how we can like create this this database that will tell us that will be. I was playing how these data structures might look like for the resulting database that will allow us to see that cookie XYZ is mapped with XYZ with ZDH, and actually, there is it's matched under one super user ID here, right? So I think I might just try to create this nice documentation and then go into this instead of right now running through it. But the whole idea is that we draw some kind of conclusions out of single like matches, like location, geo, whatever, and then write this information into a single record, so that we're like increasing the probability with each match, with each criteria, and at the end of the day, we look which like match is most probable. Because there are like some corner cases that, for example, like here you on this part, you can see that it's not really obvious. If you have like all different colors mean different people. So you have like co-workers, right? That they appear under same IP at work, right? But at home they're not, and the blue one is with his wife, and you know you have two IDs under same IP. So yeah, go ahead. So it's not tricky, and I think we might end up in like creating some kind of relations that are not true, and we will have to discard them based on some kind of probability that will be, you know, and that's why we need more criteria. Yeah, so that's mostly it. Any questions?
I would like to just add that actually I've seen a talk about Panama Papers and how they investigated it. So they used actually Neo4j graph database, and and that might be relevant here as well. So what they did is the developers got some initial data, some initial nodes into the database, and then there were like 400 journalists going through the papers and adding relations, like, you know, connections between the nodes. And actually when they added the connection, then they were, yeah, like, so like two unrelated things then started to be connected, and then you could see the big picture from that. And actually in the demo, this the query language for this database is very powerful, so you can write like,
Yeah.
so like nice expressions, like maybe these rules or matches that you mentioned, they can be nicely expressed in this graph query language. So maybe that representation is also something that can be considered.
Yeah, that's like now for definitely might be something that we play, especially for prototyping phase, and we try to relations look like, or maybe we will export some of the data from our databases to Neo4j.
Mm-hmm.
What I know, like what we are trying, like I know that this is kind of wrong addressing scale, you know, in the first approach, but the reason why I'm thinking about the scale and performance and is that we have potentially like the people that are most interested in the solution are like big publishers, right? So there is already like a question of how we handle scale, and we cannot allow ourselves to like, you know, launch this and then, you know, fail under load miserably, or at least I want to try to minimize the risk. I think Neo4j is good for offline, you know, predictions and like playing with the data. Here, I was mostly, we were probably mostly thinking about how we can also do it that it operates under scale. So these are like Cloudways records. You know, we know that Cloudways right now in the development was like 6 billions, and then records can be accessed in real time. What is more, we won't be rolling out the cloud-based infrastructure. We can use Dynamo or any like shared service to begin with, right? So that's another thing here. That's another goal. Like instead of trying to create whole infrastructure for this, let's try, for example, to use AWS first and come up with an architecture that fits like well in what we can get here and there without any effort. But yeah, like if you can share this talk, it might be a lot of, I think, good tips how to work on this data. And if you have any kind of talks like this, linking, trying to find matches, that would be great. We need to definitely do more homework here. Right now, I also like, if you have like ideas like this, just let me know, because right now I'm trying to propose to you something, first of all, and the one thing that I kind of trying to make aware of this is that we, if we want to do it quickly without going to big data and playing with all these toys. So that's the kind of thing that I'm really pushing here. But all the methods, how we do this matches, that's something totally to be discovered, to be invented here. And how already started prototyping? I don't know if you want to share some thoughts about how going to prototype.
We did an SCI pipeline, like per prototype, available or a big bucket and take a look.
Yeah, so
Build up to Circus automatically deploys to AWS instance. That's all for now.
so the clever idea that Pavel had is that instead of using database from the beginning, we can write an airline app, and we all know airline. We know that it won't fail under the load, like we use Cowboy or something. And we can use also ETS storages for all these packaging and whatever. So we can start with like very simple solution in Erlang that will emulate somehow database inside one component. So that's the idea, how to start experimenting with this. And I think that can really will be able to scale like to some kind of extent, even if we go on production with this. So and then of course we can like extend it and build the whole infrastructure around it and maybe change the language. But for now, I think it's a pretty clever idea. Any comments? Any questions?
Yeah, I like that approach with the ETS and having the MVP really quickly. And also, I that thing with the graph database immediately pop up after you talked about the relations between these things and so on. So that could be also beneficial. Have you thought about something like event sourcing or having the unique storing all events and then trying to derive other forms of data from this?
Yeah, I thought about it, and actually we will do this definitely for debugging purposes, and for the reason that some companies are even interested in buying data like this. I haven't thought about how we were going to do this, but I don't think it would be a big problem to stream somehow all these events in some kind of Avro methods to Redshift or whatever S3. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
But that's definitely like, I imagine that our airline app might just create a log of all these files and cut it into pieces and send it to S3. Something like this. Any other ideas on this? How we can do it? But I will definitely include the point about Node4j. That's really good idea.
I use it in a DSL or working to offline process using it.
Yeah, it's slow and it's
It's good for prototyping, definitely. It's like the domain maps one-to-one. Ability to start with right where things get more complicated with more problems. And it's not obvious how to scale. If you have a one big graph, it's very hard.
to divide it to smaller fragments or something. They don't really know how to do it. At least they didn't know to do it. Also was not performance.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to work with them.
The one big thing would be actually, and the reason why I'm trying to maybe come up with architecture a bit is that we need data to see like what we're dealing with, right? So to start playing with criteria is everything. To do this, we need a publisher or somebody who will allow us to put the tags on their website. Therefore, we need to have something to show to them and convince them that we have awesome technology. And please, sir, allow us to put the tags on your website.
You discovered Panama Papers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that would be awesome. Anyways, so we kind of like need to think about how we show it, how we look as like professionals here. Yeah, I'll be also working with like some more, so how we can do this. But we need to have something to show and then something to talk about, some kind of experience. So we need to start building it. And I think, it's 10 of us. There are, mothers, grandmothers with smartphones, apps. I think we're like missing the app. That's the next two things that we need to do: Android app and iPhone app. We'll install it on our phones. We'll access them. Your grandpa, please include them in our plan, and let's start seeing what the data looks like. That'll be also one of the goals for the next couple of weeks. I hope that you don't have any problems with this. Okay. Any notes? Any this is bullshit. Silence.
This is not this is definitely not a bullshit.
Thanks for okay, with this explosion of enthusiasm, it's hard.
Already we have two fields, I would say. Like, we have to design the data and how to process it. And the other part is how to get the data from
Yeah.
the JavaScript side, on the mobile side. It's another big field to research and prototype something.
Yeah,
Like
so-
I started with JavaScript yesterday, and it didn't okay. I thought there will be everything there. I just need to put it. There are problems like geolocation doesn't work without HTTPS, etc.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe let's talk a little bit briefly about like areas of work that we will probably create in the conference. So there's a definitely front-end part, like assembling the tag and how we are doing user mapping, dropping cookie, maybe fingerprinting in browser, in mobile web, in mobile. And there is a need to create two mobile apps, Android and iOS. I know that Paolo has experience, but anybody else has experience with creating apps?
I have.
Oh, you, Patrick. Okay, brilliant. So we have at least two people who can start this.
Android.
We
You can do something for iPhone.
So we have discovered brilliant. So definitely, we'll be talking to you guys. There is this core part that Paolo started to do. So initially this is like whole backend in one. So there will be an underlying app doing this bucketing. Maybe there will be also an underlying app inside this to do some like processing. like, in the first approach, we might just keep it in a single repo that Pavel already set up. This is pretty convenient because like you push the master and it's deployed to AWS. So we have this actually running, like the initial like mode. But definitely there is like need to think about how we get the data, how we extract the HTTP request, what is that we can create. There is like a part here to structure these buckets, how we can do it efficiently so we can traverse them, then all the data are here. There is all this data science part of how we are matching this and how we are creating relation. So these are like areas of work. And the last part, like how we access this data, is right now unknown because there's another challenge that I will be doing to talk to potential customers, people, like how they want to use this data. Do they want to have like servers in real time that disable like our user matching to respond with information about the user, or they want to have like offline syncing between databases. I don't know this yet. Yeah, so this is it. And of course, there's like part with Neo4j, like this is like related to this criteria. And of course, there's part about sending this to S3. Yeah, any volunteers? Actually, this is a good question. Is anybody interested in any part? Just feel free to speak now or just apply.
Come again, because it dropped a little.
I was asking if there is any volunteers, anybody interested in particular part, anybody with experience with particular part.
Yeah, so if Pavel will need a hand with Erlang app or reviewing or so, drop me a line.
Yep, will do. I will try to maybe divide this into like create some documentation that we can discuss offline, create some like maybe small epics, whatever, so we can see like what is to be done, don't have conflicts and so on.
As much research as we can do. Let's do as much research as we can.
Yeah.
And create some docs, talk about it, knowledge sessions.
Yeah.
Like, right now I'm experimenting with what is in headers, what is accessible via JavaScript, etc.
Yeah, definitely researching is very important. Okay, so I don't want to kill it. Thanks guys for listening. If you have any like questions, comments, let me know. There is a whole different space for documenting Titus. There will be. I'm using standard Jira template. I think it's pretty good. So here I will gather all the requirements and graphs for the first version. We have some notes. This will be happening here. So. Yeah, this is it. Okay, thanks guys for listening, and let's chat. Thanks.
Thanks and bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
goodbye.
Thanks, bye.